Okay, I think we'll get started now. So hopefully enough people are on. Thanks everybody for joining this webinar. Propel has been doing a series of webinars. Hopefully you've caught a few of them, such as our one on market conditions. We've done some category and consumer insight webinars, and we thought it would be useful to start providing other content to our clients and our community. And one of those areas that came up was regulatory. So we're really happy to have partnered with Quality Smart Solutions, who've prepared an excellent presentation on some of the upcoming regulatory changes. But I think what's most important here will be the discussion and Q&A afterwards, where if you've got any regulatory questions, you can feel free to ask them. And then just for us, it's making the connection to this great company, Quality Smart Solutions, and all of our family of clients. So I will pass it off to Kalpna, who is going to present. Kalpna is a regulatory solutions specialist with Quality Smart Solutions, and she will run you through this presentation. Thanks, everybody.
Awesome. Thank you so much for the introduction, Patrick. So yeah, my name is Kalpna Mistry. I'm a regulatory solutions specialist with Quality Smart Solutions. Quality Smart Solutions, or QSS as we call it, is a consulting firm. We do North American compliance in a variety of different categories. So food products, natural health products, cosmetics, medical devices, and so on. So if anyone is ever looking for regulatory consulting or any sort of consulting or compliance advice, please feel free to reach out to us and we will do our best to help. Okay, so today we'll be hosting a webinar on Health Canada's food labeling and packaging changes. So let's jump right into the overview. So back in 2016, Health Canada previously announced improvements to the nutrition facts table and the list of ingredients on food labels to make them easier to understand and help Canadians make more informed choices. So a 5-year transition period, which ended on December 14th, 2021, was provided to allow sufficient time for industry to make the necessary changes to their labels and also to use up existing stock of labels that were already printed to comply with the current requirements. Now, of course, we did come into the COVID-19 pandemic, which threw a wrench into a lot of different business plans. And so really an extra year was provided to allow industry to catch up and make those food labeling changes. And so as of December 15, 2022, the Canadian Food Inspection Agency, or the CFIA, will begin to verify compliance and apply their enforcement discretion. But before I jump into the changes that are being made to the regulations, I thought it would be a good idea to start at the beginning. So what's on a Canadian food label? So in Canada, prepackaged food labels will contain the following core elements. Bilingual labeling, meaning that the information on a product label will be in both English and French. The common name of the food, the net quantity, the name and principal place of business, date markings, such as the best before date, and some food products will also contain the manufacture date, an ingredient list, and a nutrition facts table. So if you have a look at the right-hand side of the slide, you'll see a very basic nutrition facts table. You'll see it shows the serving size, the calorie information, as well as the nutrient content. So now we'll talk about why food labeling is important. Descriptive food labeling can help the average consumer make the right purchasing decisions. This includes understanding the product's composition and nutrition, identifying potential allergens, determining the product's origin, and comparing and contrasting different products. So if you think about yourself as a consumer, when you go to the grocery store, you often pick up products and you have a look at the label to kind of determine what ingredients are in it, if it's the right choice for you in terms of your health, your diet, your lifestyle. And you also look for specific ingredient information. So if you have particular allergies, you'll need to look for certain ingredients that you want to avoid. And so now we'll jump into the changes that are being made. So the first set of changes that are being made are changes to the nutrition facts table. So this includes making the serving size more realistic and consistent across similar foods, making the information on serving size and calories easier to find, revising the percent daily values based on updated science and adding a new percent daily value for total sugars, updating the list of nutrients to add potassium and remove vitamins A and C, adding the amounts in milligrams for potassium, calcium, and iron, and adding a footnote at the bottom of the table about percent daily value. So on this slide here, you'll see two different nutrition facts tables. The one on the left-hand side follows the original or the old format, and the one on the right-hand side is showing the new format. So just even having a very, very brief glance at these two tables, you'll see that the one on the right-hand side is a lot easier to follow along with. Certain information is standing out to you more. And it's just overall a much easier table to understand. The one on the left-hand side, you'll see it's very, all the text is very consistent. Nothing is really popping out at you other than the title that says nutrition facts. And so being a consumer who may not be very educated on what a nutrition facts panel is showing you, you might be clearly understand what kind of information is trying to be conveyed to you. So if you have a look at the table on the right-hand side, you'll see the yellow highlights are really pointing out the changes that are being made. So the serving size is being shown more clearly, and there's a household measure and a metric measure. So it's showing you per 1 cup, which is equal to 250 milliliters. Moving down, you'll see the calorie information is bolded and there's a bold line underneath. So that really stands out to you. It'll show you exactly how many calories are within that serving size. The daily value percentages are updated, including a new percent daily value for total sugars. And this is particularly important because sugars is a really important thing that you want to stay within the limits of. Obviously, getting too much sugar in your diet can lead to health issues. And so it's really important for consumers to understand how much sugar they're putting into their bodies. Moving down, you'll see the milligram amounts of potassium, calcium, and iron are shown. And then right at the bottom, you'll see the small footnote, which states 5% or less is a little and 15% or more is a lot. And I particularly find this footnote very helpful when I'm looking at products and trying to understand the information that's conveyed within a nutrition facts panel. So sometimes numbers just seem like numbers and you don't really understand what they mean. But this little footnote really tells you what the numbers mean and what you're kind of looking for to maintain a healthy lifestyle. So the next set of changes we'll talk about are changes to the serving size. So this includes changes to serving size that are based on regulated reference amounts, which represent the amount of food that's typically eaten by a consumer in one occasion. Serving sizes will also be more consistent, making it easier to compare similar foods and know how many calories and nutrients are being consumed. For single serving prepackaged foods containing up to 200% of the reference amount for that food, the serving size will be the amount that's in the whole container. And for prepackaged foods that contain more than one serving, also known as a multiple serving prepackaged food, serving sizes will be an amount as close as possible to the food's reference amount. So on this slide, there's an example of a single serving prepackaged food product. So it's a carton of milk, and imagine yourself going into a grocery store, picking up a carton of milk just to have as a beverage. So on the left-hand side, you'll see under the original regulations, the nutrition facts table is showing per 1 cup, which is 250 milliliters. But if you think about yourself as a consumer, if you picked up a carton of milk at the store to drink, you'd probably finish the whole container in one sitting. And so you'll see on the right-hand side, the nutrition facts panel is showing the information per 1 carton, which is a more realistic serving size. So it's the full 473 milliliters, so the entire carton. And that way, if you do finish the entire carton, you know exactly how much nutrition you're getting. On this slide is an example of a multiple serving prepackaged food product. So at the top, you'll see the original regulatory framework. So let's say you have 2 different yogurt products, yogurt A and yogurt B. They're in different packaging sizes, and the nutrition facts table for yogurt A is showing per 1/3 of a cup, which is 100 grams, and yogurt B is showing their nutrition facts table per half a cup, which is 125 grams. So as a consumer, if you are picking up these two different products, it might be a little bit difficult to compare and contrast the nutrition because the labels are showing different nutrition facts tables with different serving sizes. Now, if you look at the bottom of the slide, you'll see under the new framework, we have the same yogurt A and yogurt B, which are in different packaging sizes, but the nutrition facts table is now consistent. So yogurt A is showing per 3/4 of a cup, 175 grams, and yogurt B is showing the same thing. So now when you pick up those two yogurt products, if you want to compare and contrast which one may be better for you in terms of your lifestyle and what nutrients you're trying to avoid and which ones you're trying to add to your diet, it'll be a lot easier to compare these two products. Okay, so the third set of changes we'll talk about are changes to the information on sugars. So the daily value for sugars is 100 grams. A percent daily value has been included for total sugars to help consumers compare the sugar content of different foods and identify foods that should be limited, such as those with a daily value of 15% or more. Also, sugar-based ingredients are now being grouped in brackets in descending order by weight after the name sugars. So at the bottom of the slide, you'll see a little example of how the ingredient listing is kind of changing. You'll see on the left-hand side the original format, which shows 3 different sugar ingredients placed sporadically throughout the ingredient list. So there's fancy molasses, brown sugar, and regular sugar. And then on the left-hand side, you'll see, or sorry, on the right-hand side, you'll see the updated ingredient listing. So sugars are all listed together with the different variants in brackets. So the fancy molasses, brown sugar, and regular sugar. The ingredient listing has a white background and the titles, ingredients, and contains are bolded. So this makes it a lot easier to read. The fourth set of changes are changes to information on sweeteners. So the following high-intensity sweeteners, neodymium, sucralose, aspartame, and sulfame potassium, no longer have to be listed on the front of the package. The amount of the sweetener in milligrams per serving no longer needs to appear in the list of ingredients. And food sweetened with aspartame must still include a statement warning individuals with phenylketonuria that the food contains phenylalanine. This statement must now appear in bold at the end of the ingredient list. So here's an example showing what we just discussed on the last slide. So on the left-hand side, you'll see the original labeling convention. So you'll see aspartame is labeled on the front of the package, as well as in the ingredient list, and it shows there's 90 milligrams per 500 milliliter serving. And there's also a statement about phenylalanine. And then on the right-hand side, you'll see the new and updated labeling regulations. So it's no longer required to have that front of package labeling. But in the ingredient listing, you will see aspartame is still listed there, and there's a bolded statement saying aspartame contains phenylalanine. The fifth set of changes are changes to the list of ingredients. So changes have been made which will make it easier to find, read, and understand the list of ingredients. These changes include grouping sugar-based ingredients in brackets after the name sugars, similar to the slide before, listing food colors by their individual common names, making the text in black font on a white background, creating minimum type height requirements for ingredients, allowing the use of bullets or commas to separate ingredients, using both upper and lowercase letters for the ingredients in the list, as well as priority food allergens, gluten sources, and added sulfites. So here's an example of the new ingredient listing labeling regulations. So you'll see the titles, ingredients, and contains are bolded. The information is in black text on a white background, making it very easy to read. There's a lot of contrast there. There's both upper and lowercase letters being used. Sugars are grouped together in brackets, and there's bullets and commas that are used to separate the ingredients. The sixth set of changes are changes to the front of package labeling, and I think This is one of the key changes that a lot of people have been hearing about. So a front package nutrition symbol is now required on prepackaged foods that meet or exceed set levels for sodium, sugars, and saturated fats. So as a consumer, sodium, sugars, and saturated fats are items that you want to generally avoid in the diet because they've been linked to health concerns. And so the food industry has been given until January 1st, 2026 to make this change. And there are some foods which are exempt from this requirement, specifically individually portioned foods, foods in very small packages, raw single ingredient foods, and foods with a protective effect on health. So this is what the front of package nutrition symbol will look like. There's two different formats. So there's the more extended version on the left-hand side and then the more condensed version on the right-hand side. And you'll see it'll say high in, and then it'll show either saturated fat, sugar, or sodium. So for example, this particular product is showing that it's high in saturated fat and sodium. And on this slide, you'll see an example of what this front of package symbol is going to look like. So you'll see it's placed in the top right-hand corner of the chocolate bar and on the chips and on the bottle. And it'll very clearly display whether that product is high in saturated fats, sugars, or sodium. So a consumer picking up a product can very easily determine if a product is high in one of those particular nutrition categories. And then for further information, they can also reference the nutrition facts table. So now we'll talk a little bit about compliance and enforcement. So Health Canada is responsible for developing the nutrition labeling regulations, and the Canadian Food Inspection Agency, or the CFIA, is responsible for enforcing them. With respect to these new regulations that were published on December 14, 2016, a 5-year transition period was established for industry to meet the new requirements. The transition period for the nutrition labeling changes ended December 14, 2021. However, given the challenges imposed by COVID-19, the CFIA will focus its efforts on education and compliance promotion for the first year. And so now, starting December 15, 2022, the CFIA will begin to verify compliance and apply enforcement discretion in cases where non-compliant companies have detailed plans showing how they intend to meet the new requirements at the earliest possible time. And so you've probably seen a lot of food products in the grocery store already starting to make some of these changes. You'll see they're using the updated nutrition facts table, as well as implementing some of the other changes, such as the updated ingredient list, showing the group sugars, as well as the nutrition symbol. So that brings me to the end of our presentation. As mentioned earlier, Quality Smart Solutions is a North American compliance firm, and we have a team of experts that are skilled with food label compliance for both Canada and the USA. In addition to food label compliance, we do offer compliance services for natural health products, cosmetics, medical devices, pharmaceuticals, and more. So we are here to meet your compliance needs. And with that, I will open it up to a question and answer period. So I'm just looking through some of these questions here. The presentation will be posted after this meeting.
Yeah, there was an issue. There's a couple of issues. One, a lot of people that followed the original LinkedIn, it didn't take them to the presentation. It just said waiting for a live presentation to start. So I'm getting literally dozens of text messages now, people that missed it. And then the other problem is on the invitation I sent to our clients, there, I guess a Zoom link automatically populated in addition to the LinkedIn link. So a lot of people went there. So I opened Zoom and directed people to LinkedIn, but a lot of people are saying the link didn't work. So yeah, I'm not sure how many people are actually made the presentation.
Okay.
I think I did see a question in the comments. I'm not sure, because I don't think people can come on and discuss live. So I don't know where that question went. Oh yeah, see more. Question on the FOP placement. When a SFCI icon is also required on the PDP in basically the same area, would you happen to know which of the two different icons must be displayed first?
That's a great question. So I am assuming SFCI is the supplemented food caution identifier. So supplemented foods are a separate category now from just the standard food products. But that's a great question. So now supplemented foods require their own caution identifier to be placed on the principal display panel. And so if you have that icon in addition to the front of package symbol, I can't say which symbol would have to be placed first, but they would both have to be on the principal display panel in the corner. And I'm not quite sure if there's a particular way that these two would need to be placed, like if one needs to be placed before the other. But that's definitely something that we can follow up with Health Canada on, and we can get back to you on that question. That's actually a really great question. I haven't considered
that was for Janet.
Okay.
And I don't see any more questions in the chat. If anybody has any, oh, here's one. Okay, are you seeing the questions too?
Yeah.
Okay, you can address them then.
Okay. Just looking through them here. When something exceeds 100% of the daily intake, how will this be reflected in the labeling? So if there is something that exceeds 100%, the percentage would have to be listed in the daily value. If it is one of those core ingredients, so sodium, sugars, or saturated fats, again, that front of package symbol would be needed as well. Okay, scrolling down. Do we have any sense as to what percent of the products will need to implement the front of package warnings? Great question. Yeah, as of right now, because it's a very new requirement, I can't really say what percentage of products would need to implement this warning. But as I did mention, there are certain exclusions that are not required to have this front of package symbol. So an example product, let's say, would be olive oil or some sort of oil. So those are single ingredient products. Obviously, they would not require that front of package warning. But yeah, as to the percentage of products, that's definitely something that we'll get more of a hold on as industry starts making this change. Okay. Is there a regulation stating how large the front of pack needs to be, i.e. based on the percent of printable area? There are certain regulations for small packages. Again, that's posted online on Health Canada's website. So if your product does meet that, it does give you certain dimensions that qualify for small package labeling. So some of these products that have small packages are given certain exemptions where certain information does not need to be included on the label. So if your product does meet that size requirement, then you are allowed to meet those exemptions. Okay. Okay, there's another question that's a little bit similar. How will the sodium fat info box content work on smaller primary display panels? Some examples seem to overpower the PDP. So that's very similar to the last question. So there are certain labeling conventions for smaller packages. Also, there's the two different formats of that caution and warning symbol. Sorry, not the caution and warning symbol, the front of package symbol. So there's the more extended, wider version, and then there's the more condensed version as well. So obviously the smaller packages can use the more condensed version of that symbol. Do these requirements apply for supplemented foods? Yes. So foods and supplemented foods, or supplemented foods, are still required to meet all of the regulations that regular food products have to make. Supplemented foods just have additional requirements. So the caution identifier and other requirements that apply to supplemented foods would come into play, but these supplemented foods also have to meet regular food labeling requirements. Okay. When is the front of package symbol required to be on the label? So going back to one of the slides earlier, so the front of package symbol would be required when the percentage value exceeds the limit for sodium, sugars, and saturated fats. Why is the Canadian sugar daily value 100 grams, but the US daily value for sugar is 50 grams? 100 grams seems like a high daily value. This is likely something established by Health Canada, so unfortunately I can't answer it myself, but yeah, Health Canada has established that the daily value for sugar is 100 grams. That being said, the information on the nutrition facts panel will clearly show you the percentage now. So now that it includes the percent daily value for total sugar, you'll be able to easily see if a product contains a lot of sugar. So if it's over 15%, then that would be considered a lot. So that would, if that doesn't or isn't consistent with the lifestyle or diet that you're trying to maintain, hopefully the nutrition facts panel on Canadian labels will be a lot clearer and easier to understand. What is the timeline? So as of December 15th, 2022, the CFIA is already starting compliance and enforcement measures for these labeling changes. But with regards to the front of package symbol, industry has until 2026 to make that change. I believe single serving items do not require that new symbol. That's correct. So single serving items do not require the front of package symbol. Okay, how or who designates foods with a protective effect on health? That is a great question. Health Canada, as the regulator, would be, I guess, the overseeing eye on this one. But overall, if a food product or a food ingredient is known to have a protective effect on health based on established studies and information that's already out there in the market, and you can make a very educated assumption about a particular food and confirm that it has protective effect on health, then it would be exempt from the front of package symbol requirement. Okay. How has location of branding and logos, etc., been considered relative to placement of the front of package warning, such that consumers continue to easily recognize products they know? That's a good question. I mean, the front of package symbol is not really meant to interfere with branding or logos. It should be in the top right corner of the food package, and so I don't think it would really interfere with branding and logos or popular or very well recognized food products. Is placement flexible? As of right now, I believe placement is not flexible, so it should be placed in the top right corner of the food product, just so that it's consistent among fruit products. So if you pick something up, you should be able to very easily find that symbol. Looking through here. Okay, I believe that is all of the questions, unless there's anything else. If I've missed anything, please feel free to reach out to us and we can definitely get back to you on any other questions.
Do you want to just talk a little bit about Quality Smart Solutions and the work you do and how people can get a hold of you guys?
Yeah, absolutely. We have a bunch of different social media pages, websites. We can post those in the chat as well, just so that everyone has access. But yeah, Quality Smart Solutions, like I said, is a North American compliance firm. So we do everything from food, natural health products, cosmetics, whatever registration is required for your product. So there are certain product types that require licensing by Health Canada, particularly natural health products, drugs, medical devices. When it comes to food products, we offer label compliance solutions. So this includes reviewing your label for compliance with Health Canada's requirements and the regulations. We also do nutrition facts table preparation for Canada and the USA. So if you ever need assistance with that area, that's absolutely something that we can help with. While we don't do the testing ourselves, we do use nutritional testing data to prepare that nutrition facts table for your product. And then in addition to label compliance, we do offer French translations as well. So like I mentioned, products in Canada do need to be bilingual, so they do need to include both English and French. And so we work with an in-house translator who is very, very familiar with the regulatory landscape in Canada. And she's very well equipped to provide French translations for any company that is looking for assistance with that. And then in addition to food label compliance, Quality Smart Solutions has a sister company called Quality Import Solutions. And so that's our importing side of the business. And we do offer import services for companies that are looking to export their food products to Canada. So if you are looking for that service, that's another thing that we offer. Really what we do is we look to ensure that any foreign suppliers or your vendors are properly equipped with a food safety plan. And then once that's confirmed and we've reviewed your product labels, your food labels to ensure they're compliant with Canadian requirements, Quality Import Solutions can act as your importer into Canada. So that's definitely one of our growing services. And we also offer food safety assistance as well. So anyone that's looking for assistance with the preventive control plan for the food safety side of business, we can assist with that as well. So we're very well versed with foods, natural health products, cosmetics, drugs, medical devices, anything that you may need help with, please feel free to reach out to us and we can help. Oh, you're muted.
A copy of this presentation will be posted on your LinkedIn page.
Yeah.
Okay, and I'll email it to anybody that was on my invite for this presentation. I'll email that link to everybody. And do you want to do just one final sweep of the comments to make sure there's no more further questions?
Yes. Yeah, let me go ahead. Okay. Okay, I think I caught everything. But again, if I did miss anything, please feel free to reach out to us, and we can definitely get those questions answered.